There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain. All these places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still recall some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. Greetings, Midcoast Ukes. Jeff Weinberger coming at you here with a new song tutorial. Today I'd like to talk about In My Life by the Beatles. Beautiful song. It was attributed to John Lennon, although there was some debate after the fact how much Paul McCartney contributed, how much John Lennon contributed. So we'll leave that up to the historians to decide that. But it is officially a Lennon-McCartney song, as all their songs are, regardless of who actually wrote it. This has a very distinctive rhythm to it, so we really need to dive into that and talk about what sort of strum to do. I was improvising. I definitely did not take note of what strum I was doing as I was singing it. I just winged it, basically. So I'm going to break down a little bit of what I did for you there. By the way, this is from 1965, the Rubber Soul album. Michelle was on that album, and Norwegian Wood. Beautiful, beautiful album. One of my favorite Beatles albums of all time. And that was their sort of mid-period. That was not their early mop-top period when they were Beatlemania was happening and they were kind of a teenage sensation. And it wasn't the late Beatles like 69 into 70 when they were breaking up and they had very long hair and beards and kind of looked a little disheveled and they weren't so happy about being the Beatles anymore. But this is between those two periods. This is the mid-period, which is my absolute favorite, Rubber Soul and Revolver. Revolver is starting to step into the psychedelic era of the Beatles, which is pretty interesting in and of itself. So this song comes from that golden era of the Beatles songwriting. The chords, let's go over them. We're starting on a G chord, of course, and the whole key of this song is the key of G. D is an important chord in this song. E minor. G7. So far the chords are fairly easy. C. C minor gives some people trouble, but 0, 3, 3, 3 is the easiest accessible way to play C minor. Although to that you could add your third finger, so that would give you 5, 3, 3, 3, which is officially a closed position bar chord. By the way, if that gives you trouble, if you want to be able to play that chord, but it's not happening for you, try overlapping your bar. Make your first finger, your index finger's bar, not just be stingy and just play the 3 little strings that it's supposed to play, but have it actually overlap so that it's covering not only all 4 strings, but your index finger's actually exceeding the fingerboard and it's sticking up like that. That overlapping and overbarring, you could call that, really helps facilitate a nice strong bar. So, a little tip there for you. As we get further into it, we have a chorus. All these places had their moments with lovers and friends, I can still recall. That's E minor, C, F, G, E minor, A, etc. So we don't really need to talk about the chords in this song very much. I assume that you all have a song sheet in front of you, either on your computer, your tablet, your phone, or a physical piece of paper song sheet that you can access. And midcoastukes.org, of course, is the place to go to grab that and print it out. So I'm not going to explain a whole heck of a lot about the chords. What I really want to spend the rest of the time of this tutorial on is the rhythm and the strum and just the basic arrangement. So if we had one strum that I would choose, if I weren't singing and I was just paying attention to keeping time on my ukulele and accompanying singers, I would emulate Ringo's drum beat. Ringo does his very cool drum beat on this song, very inventive, not like what other drummers maybe would have done. On beat 1 he hits his kick drum, boom, otherwise known as the bass drum. And then on beat 2 he hits his snare, nothing unusual there, so kick, snare. But on the end of 2, he hits his kick again. So kick, snare, kick. Kick, snare, kick. Then we have a rest. We have a rest of half a beat, followed by an open hi-hat. That sound, the sizzly hi-hat cymbal that has a pedal attached to it that you can open and close. So he hits a open hi-hat there. And then on beat 4, he hits his snare. So predictably, he hits the snare on 2 and 4, the backbeat. The Beatles were like the exemplars of the backbeat in that era of music, and this is no exception. It has the snare on 2 and 4, pounding out that backbeat, even though it's a ballad and a kind of a mellow song. So Ringo's drum beat goes boom, 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 boom. So that is, when you analyze it, almost like the calypso strum. The rhythm that Ringo does on his drum set is a lot like what a ukulele player would do when they're playing the calypso strum. So there's a nice relationship to be had there. What we're going to do is a calypso strum, but simplified. We're not going to do as many strums. We're going to do down, down, up, up, down, 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 up, down. And here it is with the beat. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 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 Which is what Ringo's playing. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. So sometimes if you're at a loss as to what strum is appropriate for a song and there isn't a tutorial for it, there's no one to give you advice about it, listen to the drummer. Sometimes the clue is in the drum beat. The drum beat can really inform what a guitar player would play, a ukulele player, a bass player, piano player, singer. If you key off of the drummer, that's a valuable lesson I've learned from playing in bands. It's always the drummer, especially when it's a very good drummer and a steady and reliable drummer. If you key off of the drummer, you will never ever get lost. And so that's a valuable lesson that I learned along the way, and I'm passing that on to you. It might not be applicable in a ukulele group without percussion and without drums, but just imagine, I actually channel Ringo when I play the song. I'm picturing Ringo back there behind me, although it's Joey the cat right now sleeping, but if it were Ringo playing his drum kit, there would be that real guide, that kind of lighthouse that guides us through the fog of rhythm here, and it would keep us on course. Boom, 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 boom. There are places I remember. So that really is kind of running through my head as I play this song. That might sound crazy about channeling a band or channeling a member of a band or trying to listen to the record in your head, try to hear the record, the song playing while you're trying to learn a song, but it's always worked for me. So if it sounds a little insane, I make no apologies. All I can say is that it works for me, and I know it works for quite a few musicians, but you should try it sometime. You should just close your eyes, picture what the Beatles looked like, what their album cover looked like, what the times were back then historically, what were you doing back then in 1965, what kind of events were taking place. Just put it into context and just channel that time and that place and that sound, and it'll come to you. I promise that works. It might not work for everybody, but give it a try. You have nothing to lose. So it's not all just on the song sheet. Some of it should actually be up here. All right, speaking of the song sheet, let's get into the verse. So to play one verse successfully means to do this. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain. And that leads to the next half of the song, which we would call the chorus. All these places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still recall some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. So you notice there, I tend to do a 1 strum on C, and I tend to do a 1 strum on C minor, simply because the Beatles did. I'm just emulating what I heard them do. In my life, I've loved them all. And then you resume the beat on the G chord after the C minor. On your song sheet, at that point, I've loved them all, you are going to have a little notation. I want to explain what that notation is. It's also in the intro. It's the same part. It's basically an intro. That's when the guitar lick happens. That's when you hear. And you're simply backing that up. You're accompanying that with. So the thing that we have, that little line that we have under the D chord, you might be wondering, why is it underlined? And there's a text box explaining it, but let me try to explain it beyond that so that it really, really makes sense to you. It's called an anticipation. That D happens earlier. It doesn't happen on 1. It doesn't happen on beat 1 where you would expect it to happen. It actually happens half a beat earlier on the end of 4. So you're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's that all-important and of 4 where you're grabbing your D chord half a beat early. That's going to take some practice perhaps. Maybe you're already hip to syncopation and you that kind of stuff doesn't bother you, but if you're new to it, if syncopation's a little confusing to you, then basically we're hitting the D chord a little early. And I'll show you exactly how much earlier. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you might want to loop those 2 bars, those 2 measures that make up the introduction. And actually that happens twice in the introduction, so it's 8 measures. 4 measures, excuse me. But down at the bottom of our first page, at the end of chorus 1, it's basically 2 measures. So let's loop those 2 measures. Let's do that over and over together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Like that. And actually, I would prefer if you didn't strum eighth notes on the second measure, the full measure of D. It'd be cleaner if you did just quarter notes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. That gentle quarter note backing would be better to stay out of the way of. Because that's a delicate little part on the ukulele. It could easily get drowned out if everyone was doing down and up strums there. You could even clear things out more and just do a whole note in that second measure. Maybe I'll change the arrangement to do that. But just right now it occurred to me that would be a nice arranging possibility, is to go 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. There. So leaving a big bunch of space there by holding your D chord, just hitting D once on the end of 4 and holding it for 1, 2, 3, 4. That also would be a cool way to do it. A lot of possibilities. If ever you get into arranging, if ever you study how to take a song and arrange it and make it, your own kind of version of it, then you'll run into things like this, where there's multiple ways to do something. And it's up to your taste and your preference what works and what makes musical sense. All right, getting on to the second page, we have a second verse, no problem there. Background vocals would be nice there. The second chorus, we added a tambourine going tss, 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 quarter notes, just like they do on the record. And let's see, we have an instrumental that originally was a harpsichord solo by George Martin, a sped up harpsichord solo, because it was physically impossible to play this one phrase, so they actually had him play it at half speed, and then they sped the tape up to full speed, and that made it sound like he actually pulled it off, but he didn't really play that passage that fast. He was good. George Martin, their producer, was a great musician, classically trained, good pianist, great arranger, great composer, great producer, but he couldn't play that lick, so that was done artificially. Nowadays, there are musicians, though, that can do it. They've learned it and can do it in real time with without any technological tricks. All right, so you got that instrumental there, which is basically a verse. It's like 2 verses. And again. And you do another chorus, the second chorus. Though I know I never lose affection for people and things that went before, I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life I've loved you more. Second chorus, so there's 2 different choruses. And then we have our ending. So we go, dun, 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 dun. In my life, I've loved you. Dun, 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 dun. So I was just kind of singing the lick there, but actually I would, if I weren't trying to guide you through it, I would be playing the... But I wasn't. I was doing your part. I was strumming. So that ending is the lick once, dun 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 dun, and then we all sing. I can hardly hit those notes. In my life, I've loved you. Dun 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 dun. So you have to watch for the cue there to know when to hit that final G chord. Sometimes I like to drag it out a little bit more, and sometimes we go right to it. All right, Midcoast Ukers, that is the whole song. So just, if you get nothing else from this video, get the strum. Down, down, up, up, down. Down, down, up, down. Very common strum, but very important to understand that to get the right feel for this song. All right, Midcoast Ukers, you take care. I will catch you later. Bye-bye.